Is he okay? Is he okay?
That was a weird one.
Oh my God.
That was not weird.
That was really weird. You know, it's like my glasses. It just didn't fit. It didn't fit your sound. Okay.
It's just a reverb.
Welcome to the Immersive Lens, the podcast exploring the technologies reshaping how we live, work, and learn.
From AI and virtual reality to creative media and design, we are diving into the tools and ideas shaping our connected world.
My name is Paul Engin. Join us as we uncover the people and ideas driving the next wave of interactive experiences.
And I'm Dave Ghidiu. This is the Immersive Lens.
All right, Dave, you've been busy. What's going on?
Just hot off the heels, I was driving back from a conference in Jersey. We were doing AI, and the FLX AI Hub is really pushing the boundary on what domains AI can be supported in. So, for instance, this is the biggest summer camp conference of the world. So American Camping Association. So we were showing them how they can use AI for a lot of the stuff they do. But I heard this. Cool. Yeah, I heard this stat as I was catching up my podcast on the drive, the 8-hour drive, that 80% of podcasts don't make it past their first year.
Uh-oh.
I know. And then I was also listening to the Chat Edu podcast, Friends of the Pod, and they were talking, they had mentioned that. And then I was also listening to a podcast about Polymarket, which there's a few different like apps out there where you can bet on like anything.
Right.
Have you heard of Polymarket?
Yeah. Can you explain it though, just because for clarity?
Yeah. Polymarket, and there's a few other apps, let you bet on anything. And so it's like, I will bet that, and you know how people like used to bet on Super Bowl and they're like, I will bet that it's going to be heads at it is more nuanced than that, and you can bet on like, I bet that FLCC will have 80% of learners graduate this year. You can bet on anything,
right?
And
whether the podcast continues for a second year.
Well, I was thinking, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on to Polymarket and make that bet that we will beat the odds and make it past the first year. But you can't use Polymarket in America.
Oh, you can?
No, but if you have a VPN, you can. But
circumvent.
Yeah, so Polymarket's been in the news. There's been some pretty negative press lately. One is that there's this like affiliate model on college campuses now because they think that that's going to be a huge boon to their audience if they can get college students betting on anything. And
interesting.
Yeah, so they're paid like one fraternity, I think it was at Columbia. I'll have to double check that. Got paid $30,000 like within the first week for the number of people they signed up. But the downside to all these apps are like, we will bet that bombs will drop on Iran on this date. So it's like, really? That's the kind of stuff you want to be betting on? So like all technology, there's some good and some bad.
Yeah, I heard that they talk about leaders being overthrown and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And like I've heard good and bad about it, but it seems like a really interesting concept. And obviously it's not something that is secured by the government. So it's not like an FDA or secured loan or whatever.
Yep. So for our international listeners, if you could place a bet on Polymarket that we make it past the first year, we will beat the 80% odds.
That's right. Go Immersive Lens podcast.
Yeah. All right. So you tell me now. Tell me what you've been up to.
So
you have something there. I'm curious.
do. I have something on my wrist.
Okay.
And then I spoke about it in an earlier cast, but I went and I got us a pair of Meta glass displays.
And for those who are not watching on YouTube, the packaging on this is insane. It's got like springs in it and it like unfolds. It looks like a spaceship almost.
Yeah, it's very compact and the case itself is a charger.
Wireless charging?
Wireless charging.
Oh my gosh.
And the glasses themselves look like glasses. Like they don't look like the Vision Pro, like big, huge, like outside of the cameras on both sides of the lens.
I didn't even know some. Now, I will say I like these. It's like a dark brown color, kind of like thick rimmed.
Yeah.
And Jeff, I know you're listening. Can you tell me what you think of the aesthetics of these? Okay. Jeff does not like it. He's not a fan. But I think they're cool. I like kind of like the bigger glasses.
And for the folks at home or who aren't watching it on YouTube, you have the ability to have a display on one of your eyes So the device talks to your phone. Oh, Jeff, did you want to say something else?
All I was going to say was they just look a little small for his face.
I don't know about that.
That's my only complaint.
Okay, that's
they
your
just
only
look a
complaint.
little small on him. That's all.
All right, so the next iteration, they're going to have to like make kind of like different styles.
I would say,
now
yeah.
that they've got the technology down.
I will say that they have the large. This is their large.
Okay.
And then they have a medium.
Okay, so they do have some
size. They have
sizes.
two sizes, and then they have different size bands as well.
And what does the band do? What does the wristband remind?
The band allows you to like navigate, so you can do like a middle finger pinch, and then the menu will display. And unfortunately, we can't show you. We tried to do the camera so you could see it, but I'll try to find some footage that we could try to show you. But the middle finger allows you to kind of navigate back or to the main menu when you double pinch like that.
Yeah, it's so weird watching you like do these things because nothing's changing, but your experience is changing, like what's being shown on your glasses.
Exactly. Yes, and it's it's augmented reality, which means that I see everything in front of me, but there's just a digital overlay that allows me to navigate. And then if I hold my thumb and I just move my thumb across my finger, I'm navigating my menu system. And you can't see me navigating the menu system, but I can navigate. And it's still in its infancy. There's still like it connects to WhatsApp. You can ask it uses AI, and you can ask it to like tell you what's going on, or if you need help with something, you can say, "Can you help me troubleshoot this?" And it'll.
Yeah, and I see that you had talked in one of the previous episodes about the utility, like working on your car, and you're like, okay, glasses, how do I change the oil or whatever?
Exactly.
And it will like have an arrow that points like unplug this hose or
use this, or you need to do that. Oh, that looks like there's a tear in the whatever.
And I will say, you let me put them on beforehand. And I was expecting it to be much like the Google Glass, where it's just a little image in the corner of the lens, but it was like over the whole lens, like my field of vision.
It feels really good. Like I can completely see through it, and I can navigate through it, and I can record videos. I can do captioning. I can do teleprompter. And the captions are pretty cool. They can do live translation. So if you're talking to someone in a different language, it will translate live in English.
So you can understand them, but they can't understand you. Yeah. They need a pair of glasses too.
Yeah. It looks like Jeff just texted something.
Oh, okay.
And I can see that through my. I don't know if I want to see it, but let's see.
I was just giving a production note, but seeing as how you called it out, I just asked Dave to slide a little closer to you so he's a little more centered on the camera, but that's,
That's good. But see,
you saw that popped up.
I saw that. Yep. It says, Dave, are you able to discreetly slide closer towards Paul?
Wait, is it on your glasses? You're getting a text message on your glasses? Oh, that's wild.
So, but nobody else can see that I'm seeing it.
Yeah. And, I'm looking at you now. It looks like I don't see any imaging on your glasses at all.
Right. Right. So I got the text and notification.
Passing notes in class just went to the whole next level.
Yeah. So definitely need to play with it a little bit more. I think there's some more we can do with it. I tried to look at the dev kits, and they don't have the dev kit for the display, but you can use it for the AI.
Okay. Yeah. And I've seen some people already doing stuff with AI. One thing I like about these is unlike the minute I put the Mac Vision Pro on, I was like, this is awesome. But there's no utility in it for me yet. And I was like, it's going to be a long time until it becomes like a tool. But this right now, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Like,
and this is where I'm like, oh my gosh, but you needed the Vision Pro to get to, or the Oculus, or you needed all those. I mean, this has several hours of battery life right now as well. And I'm not tethered to anything. Yeah.
The Nintendo Virtual Boy died so that these glasses can live.
That's right. All right, let me take these off.
And I just think they're fantastic. And for kind of like the first generation, it's just going to be like, I can't wait till it comes out like next year.
Yes. And I hear rumors that this summer there's going to be a lot of movement around the AR glasses and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I like them. And did you hear, speaking of Meta, that they acquired Moltebook? And we talked about OpenClaw, and Moltebook was the AI bots social media venue. And Meta just bought it.
Is that the one that like the AI bots are talking to each other and like having conversations?
Yeah, it's kind of like Reddit, and one of the like subreddits or the sub-molts or whatever they call them is like, isn't my human cute, or things like that.
I don't know. What do you think? Is it for training? Is it for fun? What do you think that Meta bought that for? That seems like I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I imagine if it truly is all AI agents conversing in there, and there's kind of speculation that it's not, then what a trove of data you're sitting on for agential AI.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But also, I mean, no one does social media better than Meta, so why not
yeah, that's true.
that up.
That's true. So I figured today our hot topic, we're going to break down Claude's ecosystem.
I love Claude.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the chat projects, artifacts, skills, code, and the co-work, and kind of see the evolution of where AI is going. And I know we touched on this, but I think we're seeing that big transition from just a straight prompt and chat to more of an ecosystem related to each product. And we talked about OpenAI's ecosystem at the last episode.
And so we're just going down the gamut. By the way, I use Claude. That's probably what I use the most for my intense work. I'll use Gemini as like a daily thing, but Claude is for my intense work. What do you use? Which tool or tools?
I use all three right now. I use OpenAI. And for OpenAI, I use it for a lot of the coding because until recently, we didn't have the project. We're going to talk a little bit about these, but the projects, and I have a paid subscription to OpenAI, so I use the codecs, and I've been happy with what it's been producing. But I use Claude for coding as well, because sometimes I feel I don't need to prompt as much, and it will create a more elegant solution to my prompt, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Did I show you the EKG?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk about that. And I find that Claude, I see more of my personality in the response it gives and the software that it generates for me than I do with, say, Gemini, which has coding, and also like OpenAI's codecs.
Yeah, and I use it in that context, and I also, anything that's regarding writing, I'll use Claude, and then for and this is weird, but for anything media production related, it's all Gemini. It's all Gemini because the flow is just, you can't beat flow right now. It gives me control, like all our intros to our podcast.
Oh, flow, by flow you mean the video software?
Oh yeah, the video software in Gemini. Sorry. So Flow is the video AI system where you can upload a first image and a last image, and then prompt it what you want.
That's insane.
So
and that's what you made the holiday video.
The holiday video, yep. And then all the intros to all our podcasts, you'll see a little robot. Yeah, and he does different things.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
And you gotta watch it on YouTube. But so I'll use that. But one of the things that I really love about Claude is there is a certain level of warmth to it. And I know this sounds really weird, but it's got a slight off-white tint to it, so it creates a warmer tone than just a straight white. And then it always greets you. I don't know if you've gotten when you logged into Claude.
It's like, what are we going to create today?
Yeah, good afternoon. Welcome back, Paul. And it creates that engagement.
Yeah, and I will say this with Claude. When I read the responses and see the output from Claude, ChatGPT and Gemini just seem stiffer. Like this is overall, it's not just the welcome and the color, which is great, but like that's the whole thing. And I have a lot of respect for Anthropic for a lot of things they're doing, but that's, gosh, they're really like crushing it with the way that it responds and interacts with humans. And, they have that constitution. It's like an 85-page kind of like, this is the values of what you are, Claude. So that they're doing, they have anthropologists on staff and psychologists. So they're doing like all these fantastic things, and it really shines through.
And I think that's one of the things that, and everyone needs to do this, and they probably have the same feeling when they talk about Android or Apple, but I feel secure when I'm in Claude. I feel like they're going to take care of my data properly. Whereas I can't say, with Meta, with the glasses, I take the glasses off when I'm not actively using them because I don't want it to record anything that I don't want them to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Meta's been in the news quite a bit over the the last 20 years for a lot of missteps and like security and privacy issues, and Claude has been in the news recently for kind of on the opposite end of that. Like, hey, they're doing all these things right, and I think that's no surprise that they're the number one AI service for, say, enterprise, because people trust them. They're trustworthy.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about. I took some screen caps so you can see. About like how they are protecting you. They have like incognito mode, and they have a lot of neat features, and they always make sure that you're in control and you're working with them, and it's not just doing something on its own without you aware of it.
Yeah, and they're known for not training on your data.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big piece of it.
So I figure what we'll do is we'll break it down. We'll talk about the chat. Then we'll go into projects, modules and skills, artifacts, code, and then finally we'll end with co-work. So do you want to talk a little bit about the Claude chat? Yeah,
and before we do this, all those things you mentioned are things to help you be productive for the most part.
Oh, yes.
And so it's clear to me that Anthropic is positioning Claude to be like, this is your coworker. This is the person who's going to take you and your specialty, what you excel at, what you're an expert at, and bring you to the next level.
Yeah. And it's interesting because they do have like, when they talk about the breakdown of these different tools, it's like, if you start with chat, it's everyone knows this. It's what the audience is used to seeing. And then projects is something that helps Claude remember what you want. And then skills, it allows basically you to work, Claude to work the way you want it to work.
Yeah.
And then artifacts is what they use to kind of build things. Code is all the programming aspects of it.
It's like a whole suite of productivity tools.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And some of these tools were just released as of this month. I mean, some of these tools didn't exist prior. So let's talk about Claude Chat first.
Yeah, start with the chat.
So I think one of the things that we can think about as far as the chat goes, it's really does good job with reasoning and thinking about your decisions, and it gives you a different tone in its response versus like a ChatGPT.
Yeah, and it just like bleeds user experience. So when you use ChatGPT, there's 5.25 as of right now, which is like March 12th. There's 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, and it's a little cryptic. And when you use Claude, it's 4.6, but they have Haiku, which is kind of their fast thinking one. And then, it's a short poem.
Yep.
Then they have Sonnet, which is their medium grade. And then they have Opus, which is, for the heavy lifting.
Right.
So every version of Claude, they have this kind of like 3-layered system. So there's no ambiguity. You know exactly if you're using the fast model or not. So I like that. But I agree with what you said. Like when you use Claude, you're using Claude because it's just so rich and textured.
Yes. And I think that one of the things that you can think about speaking about those different models is you can actually select those in the prompt. Mm-hmm. And so the way you can approach this is that if you needed to do a lot of analysis or like look at a full research paper or look at hundreds of pages of reports, you can use the Opus to kind of aggregate that data versus just a simple prompt that a Sonnet might work.
And like Sonnet is my like daily thing. Like if I need something and I think that's the default setting anyhow. But I will, and I think you mentioned this about the context window, which is like when you're having a conversation, how long can that conversation go on? How much content can be in there before it kind of starts forgetting and stumbling? And it's insane. Like we used to hit the limits all the time.
Yes.
And now Claude actually does this thing, which when it gets full, if it should get full, it will say, hang on, Dave, I'm going to consolidate this. It used to say, you better start a new chat, buddy. Now it's like, I'm going to consolidate this and we can keep going in this chat, which I think is cool.
Yes. And that's the, they have a paid subscription and they have free, just a free use of Claude, but it's just limited. So there are occasions when I'm coding, unfortunately, because I don't have the paid subscription of it.
Yeah, you can chew through credits and tokens.
It does, and I'm like, I'm so close, and I'm like, and I have to borrow my wife's login, and I'm like now logging in because she's got the full. But then I have to re-prompt. I have to move my prompt over.
Yeah. Do you ever ask it? So you're in the prompt where you had everything going, you're like, can you summarize this so that I can bring it to a new chat? And then it gives you like 2 or 3 paragraphs. So it captures the important things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. I think that's a good point. So, I think they're actually making this much easier now that you can export your prompts.
Yeah.
And then you can import as an MD file.
Yeah.
And then you can import those into Open.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're starting
I'm glad I came today.
Yeah. They're starting to work through that porting system to make it easier to move between these different AI systems.
That's cool. And I knew that Claude built a tool to kind of ingest, say, OpenAI things, and I know Gemini's rolling that out too. So
yeah,
I'm glad to see standardization.
That is nice. That is really nice. And I think a lot of things started this way. Even like the web. You had different browsers doing different standards, and then they finally built a consortium.
Yeah, but it took years.
It did. But I'm glad they finally did because now there's some level of consistency and what to develop. So the prompt is something that we really see on an everyday basis. The normal
it's like how
engagement.
Most people engage with AI.
Yeah. And the next thing that they enabled was something called projects. And we spoke about this in OpenAI, but or ChatGPT, but it's the same thing. They created it in Claude now. Do you want to kind of explain what that is?
Sure. So projects are a collection of chats, but it's more than that. You can upload all these files. So for instance, I'm doing an independent study with a learner right now in Python 2. Mm-hmm. So I uploaded kind of all the content that is important to me if I were to teach Python 2 with like an open source textbook and other files like labs I had done in Java, but now they need to be Python. So that becomes kind of the intelligence of it. And then in this project, this is where I have all my chats. So every week before I meet with my learner, and I'm like, okay, this week we're going to be going over polymorphism, or we're going to be going over inheritance. And so I'll engage with Claude with this chat, and it will say, oh, remember last week we already did inheritance and we touched polymorphism. We said we'd get back to it this week. And as we're writing labs for your learner this week, let's call back to the labs we did in previous weeks. And it's just so smooth. It really is. I think the tagline was something like it remembers your world or something like that.
Yes.
And it's awesome because it is all about doing Python 2. There is nothing else other than like what we have been doing and where we're going with it. I love it.
Yeah. And it's related to exactly what you uploaded. So it's not pulling it can, but it's pulling from the knowledge base that you added to the project.
Yeah. And another project I have is for the FLX AI Hub. So whenever we do talks in different places, they're all kind of stored there. That's kind of like the central nervous system. Each one is a new chat, but it's within the project. And so our ethos and our atmosphere is still kind of like matched across the whole thing. Do you use projects at all in Claude?
I've used it briefly. So with the free version, you're only allowed, I think it's 5. So I'm somewhat limited as to the amount of projects I can use.
You have to be judicious.
Yes. But it is really nice because unlike the prompt, I can, like you said, I can feed it a bunch of information related to what I want to kind of build. And then I can go from there. So I could upload screenshots. I can upload, project specs. And then when I'm talking to it, now it has all that information. So now when it's building, it'll build related to everything in that knowledge base, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it also allows you to upload those instructions too. So you can give it kind of guidelines and guardrails and like personality as well. Right.
So the type of projects, some examples that might be like research projects, writing projects, software development, course creation, content production. These are all things that you really could do using projects.
Yeah, and I will say that for any educators out there or any instructional designers, this is the AI service to go to for instructional design and course design.
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable.
And I think the other thing that is really nice about it is you can set permissions. So if you and I are working on something, you can set a permission access for me to just view or edit or add to. So we have a permission capability within the projects as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, again, or you can make it private if you don't want if you don't want others to have access to it. So I think that it's really something that, people can play with and definitely something that if you are, like you said, building out a specific course or something, you could just upload all your old information, your old PowerPoints, and then you can reimagine what your course could be.
Yeah, so it's great for that, like reimagining too.
Yeah. So from projects, let's talk about Claude. It's modules or skills. And this is where you can basically have Claude act the way you want it to act. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying it's kind of an instruction sheet to help you perform different tasks?
Yes. So what skills are is basically, it's an external file that you have to create, a MD file. Markdown file.
Which is basically like the 30,000 foot view is, if you have 1 pound sign that's heading 1, 2 pound signs that's heading 2. So it gives you structure to the file. And like you can use number 1, number 2, number 3 if you have an itemized list, or like asterisks for bullets.
And then you can put all the skills that you want it to learn. You can put the guardrails you want it to use. And you can kind of basically tell Claude how you want it to act when you're prompting. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you have a little bit more control over the whole experience.
Right. So like for the podcast, if I wanted to, have it every time spit out like, some topics that we can talk about in a specific structure, I could create a skill MD file and build that structure. And then this way I can open up that skill and I can just say, we're going to be talking about Claude, which is kind of what I did for this, right?
Oh,
I said, is that Inception? In Claude, I created a Claude skill that asked for
that is Inception.
A breakdown of
I didn't realize you did that.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
what was the experience like?
It was good. And then inside of it, I built that, and then I said, so we're going to talk about all the different, the ecosystem of Claude, and I gave it, in the knowledge base, I gave it the skills, the reference to our URL, and then what I wanted to kind of focus on. And then now moving forward, all I'll have to do is add that, whatever topic we're talking about. And then it will kind of give us a breakdown of what we can talk to.
I didn't realize you had done that. Was it easy to do?
Yes.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, you can use Claude or whatever system you're on to create that MD file for you.
So you can go into regular chat, say Gemini or Claude or chat, and say, I want to make a Claude skill that does this. Give me the prompt, and it will give you the markdown file.
Exactly. Okay. And then it'll create it, and then I use that.
That's a good life hack. That's a meta inception. But that is called meta prompting, by the way. That's my favorite prompting technique, is like have AI write the prompt for you.
It's great.
Yeah.
And this way you don't have to overthink it. You can just say it in plain text.
Yeah.
So, have you explored it? Any feedback on the use of it?
Not the skills. I haven't yet, but I've done a lot with the artifacts.
The artifacts? Okay, well, that's where we're moving to next.
Super.
The artifacts. So
this is, it emerged out of Claude Code. So Claude is probably, I think, without a doubt, the best coding AI. So if you want to start coding, I think Claude is fantastic. And it started as like, oh, this is a good way for people to share what they've built. And so you can think of it like a little app store that you can publish to. So if I made, say, a flashcards app, I could put it, and that's like in artifacts. And there's a button right in Claude for artifacts. But it also has the flip side to it. So there is this artifact store, and you can go and look at it, and you can say, oh, I want to bring this into my system. I want to fork it. That's what we call in the biz. So it makes a carbon copy of it and brings it to Claude so you can play around with it.
And you can modify it to make it fit what you want.
And you do not need to know how to code. So for instance, let's say that I publish I'm on Cloud Code, I make a flashcards app, and I publish it as an artifact. And then you come along, you're like, oh, I want that flashcard app. And you copy it and take it down into your own system, and then you're like, oh, but all these questions about Python, I'd rather have it on JavaScript because I teach a JavaScript class or whatever.
Right.
And so then you just go into Claude and you're like, convert all these questions to JavaScript, and it will do that. So you're just using the AI to reprogram this artifact.
Right. And I think the way that people can think of artifacts is an output. So, you know, you're inputting a bunch of stuff in the prompts and whatnot, but now you can create apps and docs and tools as an output from artifacts. So, you know, creating a card app, doing something like learning tools or interactive demos or data dashboard, you can quickly use artifacts, and they can be pre-existing artifacts. And like you said, Dave, you can modify it to fit what you want for your artifacts.
Yeah, and being able to, and this is one of the beauties of like vibe coding, is like being able to adjust it to exactly how you want it, and you are in complete control. It's pretty empowering.
Yes, I agree. And it's great because, like you said, it's there's a library that already exists.
Yeah, I was just poking around through that library.
Yeah.
I found like a Forest Explorer. I was like, oh, that sounds relaxing.
Yeah, there's an office simulator.
But the interesting thing to me is like taking one of those and then opening it up and looking at it and being like, I can't figure out all this code, but like I get what this be like. You can learn a little bit about it, but you can totally own it and be like, oh, that's a cool office simulator, but I want to change the character, I want to change the narrative, I want to change the colors, whatever you want to do.
Right. And I just saw there's like a piano, so I can maybe play with the piano and kind of retool it to maybe teach me a song that I want to know, but using the same mechanism that they've built. So lots of different things.
That's your homework, is to make the piano. Oh, there is something that's also really cool about these artifacts.
Yeah.
So one of the problems with vibe coding is that you can create the app, but then how do you put it, say, in Brightspace, which is what we teach with, or how do you put it on your website? Mm-hmm. Claude Code artifacts, if you publish an artifact, you can embed it and we'll give you the embed code, which is really cool. So it's like hosting an app for you.
Oh, that's so I could take the artifact, get the embed code, put it in our LMS, learning management system, and then the students can actually interact with
your piano.
That's really cool.
Yes.
And is it dynamic? So if I go into my artifact that I'm sharing, can I update it and then it'll update live?
Can you republish an artifact? I actually don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
That's my homework.
Yeah, man, you're giving me homework. Yeah. Take that,
That's
Dave.
my homework. All right. Fair enough.
So artifacts are definitely something to explore. Look at all the pre-existing artifacts you can create. Even with the free version, you can create several artifacts on your own. I don't know the limit of artifacts, but I'm assuming like projects, you probably have a certain number you're limited to as far as the artifacts go.
Yeah, but it really is like a low risk way to explore coding. It's so fun. It's so fun making artifacts. So that if that's your takeaway, that's your homework, all you listeners and viewers.
Yes, explore the artifacts in Claude.
And send it to us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Actually, do we have an email?
Are you asking for any specific reason?
I don't know. I don't have any fan mail, but if someone wanted to email us, do we have an email now or not yet?
Oh yeah, I thought you meant like, is there email in our mailbox?
No.
I think is it info@theimmersivelens.com?
info@theimmersivelens.com. Okay, awesome.
I thought you were saying that because
we got fan mail. No,
well, no, because we have a theme song.
We do have a theme song, but they gotta wait till the episode comes out. We don't want to tease it. Actually, by the time you hear this one, you would have already heard it.
So you start sending us mail if you want to hear the theme song more often.
That's right. Maybe I'll play it during this episode as well.
All right, as we're talking about it.
Yes. So the next thing we'll talk about is the Claude Code.
Oh my gosh.
And can you tell us a little bit about Claude Code?
It's a game changer. This is basically when you type into, sort of, there's kind of two interpretations of Claude Code. One is you can use Claude just naturally and say, make me a web app, make me a web page, make me an Android app, whatever. But Claude Code is this software that sits into, if you ever see like computer nerds programming on TV or in the movies, they're usually programming in like a terminal. It's very text-based. It's called an IDE, an integrated development environment. And Claude Code sits inside there. And so imagine there's kind of two panes adjacent to each other. And so in the one pane is Claude Code, and you just type, in plain language, like, make me an app that does this. And then in the text base, the text box, it actually like writes the code, and then you can run the code and see it. And that doesn't sound any different than kind of what we're talking about until you start thinking about apps or websites that have 10, 20, 30 pages in it. And you can just stick Claude Code on it. You can say, hey, my website's right here. It's in the IDE. Make it accessible. Go through every file and make sure that there's ARIA tags, that there's role tags, that there's alt tags on all the images. And it will go through all of them. So it's borderline like agential AI now, because you're tasking it with something that requires multiple steps and multiple reasoning things. It's unbelievable.
Right. And just so I'm clear, when we're talking about this, I believe this is you have to have a paid tier to use the Claude Code.
I don't know, because I have a paid tier.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you do.
Okay.
So I think with Claude Code, I think you could get the pro version, and then you could have access to it. But basically, you can point it to a folder, and and I'll say Visual Studio Code, you can open up that folder. So this way, when it's writing all of the JavaScript or Python or whatever it's doing, it's writing into that folder and creating all the derivatives files and connecting them all.
Yeah. So it's fantastic for, say, like software management, not just think beyond one file.
Right.
And because it lives in your IDE and you can push it right to GitHub, which is like super nerd for like, you can kind of publish things right off the bat. Right.
And GitHub is a repository that allows you to upload your code, and then you can save branches and iterations of it.
It's like Google Drive for computer nerds.
Yes.
That's where you put all your files.
But you'll always see things called Git or GitHub. And
Bitbucket, that's another one.
And but it's just a repository of where people upload their code and download their code and fork their code and branch their code.
And I'm teaching, and all those are like words, and it's very overwhelming when you look at it, but I'm teaching that vibe coding class this semester the first time, and I was really hesitant to introduce Claude Code. And so we did GitHub the very first week, and I let people get used to it. And then I was like, okay, now we're going to program in GitHub with the IDE. Once they got used to programming. So we scaled up. So it's really, really approachable. But then I showed them Claude Code, and I was like, this might be a bridge too far. And they were like, Dave, why did you not show us this earlier? This is a game changer. And I do want to reiterate, the vibe coding class is for non-majors. Like, you do not need to know how to program.
Yeah, I actually got somebody in the art department that was asking me, can you show me how to create an app? And I go, well, if you want to know the nuances of programming, yes. If you want to just vibe code something, I know a course that you could take. So I think you might have somebody.
Awesome.
So
it will be offered online in the fall.
Oh, awesome. That'd be perfect for everybody to,
it would be perfect.
Take. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also because we're talking about AI, it's this really weird scenario, because a lot of the conversation in academia right now is like, how do we monitor what level of AI learners are using? I'm like, if you come into this class and you're not using AI for everything, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
So this is something I don't have to worry about, is like how reliant. In fact, the only way you could cheat is if you copied someone else's work, which would be 100% detectable, because if you and I were vibe coding the same app, even on Claude at the same time, it will be radically different. So there is no cheating. This is like pure creativity.
Right. It's all derivatives of somebody else's work.
But we do learn about web technology, so it's really a web technologies class. You will learn something.
Well, you need to understand how everything connects and where things go, and
back end, front end.
Just so you're aware of it, so you understand when it's asking you to do something, you're not like thinking, what?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that Claude Code is really great. You can even give it existing projects. So you can point it to a project maybe that you were working on, and then say, can you look over this code and make it more efficient? And
I feel like I use Claude just as much as you do, but you know way more about it than I do. I didn't know you could do that. I'm going to try that too.
Yeah, because once you bring it in, and it can do the full analysis on it. So I think one of the things that I really like about it is, like I said, when I use it for my initial, there's a game I want to develop, and it started and it was looking great, and then I ran out of tokens. So I think that unfortunately, this eats up this, and what we're going to talk about next, cowork, eats up lots of tokens compared to straight prompts.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is where that discrepancy is going to start happening. And I don't like that there's going to be some people that are going to be paying $100 a month and get full access to everything that they want, and they'll be able to build. And then you're going to get people that you can't spend.
Yeah, the equity thing is it really is an issue to think about, and like that I think about quite often. That was kind of one of the conceits for this vibe coding class. Like, no one should have to pay anything. So we work around those limits. We try and understand. And there's other tools like you can use Gemini, you can use Copilot or Codex, you can use AI Studio. So, but I think in the industry, you're going to have an allegiance to an AI.
I think so too. You're going to probably gravitate toward one that you're leaning toward, and it's tough because I really do like all three for slightly different reasons. And but we're going to get into Google probably our next podcast.
I can't wait.
That has more of an all around thing for me. So definitely if you're into coding and
even if you're not.
If you're not, right, that's true. You could do it straight prompts, and Claude is a great collaborator for you to build just about anything you can imagine. And you can always ask it questions if you don't understand what it's doing. So you can say...
Yeah, that's the beauty part, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started doing it, I said, all right, let's build this app. And it went crazy with all of these different frameworks. And I was like, let's simplify this I said, for students that only know PHP, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And it retooled everything and it broke it down into something more simple for someone like a student to understand.
Like a new programmer.
Right.
Like they don't know all the shortcuts and complicated code maneuvers.
Exactly.
I like that too. And you can ask it like, hey, I don't understand what's going on line like 88. Can you explain that to me? So it is a good learning tool as well. It's not just like a utility.
And I definitely encourage anybody, if they're not sure what's going on with their code or when they're doing it, don't be frustrated. Just ask the question and it'll answer for you. And then we're going to end this with Claude Cowork. And what is that?
Cowork is kind of like an agent that lives on your computer and can do things for you. So let's say that you have a business and maybe you run lemonade stands year round in 18 different neighborhoods. Like you're a mogul.
Oh man.
And so you might have files all over your computer. Maybe some of them are in the cloud. Maybe some of them are like on your desktop. Maybe some of them are in like and you're like, oh, it's tax time. I gotta reconcile all these things. You can say to Claude Cowork, hey, it's tax time, buddy. I gotta round up all my invoices, all my expenses, and create a report, and it'll do that.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
And so everyone understands what this is basically giving access to Claude to do stuff on your computer on your behalf. So having direct access to files and folders. So you could have it point to your download folder, for instance, and you could say, organize my download folder between images and programming and date. And if you think there's a more efficient way to organize it, let me know. Yeah. And it will, and this is where I love Claude. It will do it, but then what it'll do is it'll give you instructions on what it's doing, and then it'll say, do you want me to do this? And you have a choice of cancel, always allow, or allow before it actually does it. So it comes up,
it develops a plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that is really good. And I don't know if in the back end they do like a little virtual machine where it actually like is reconstructing everything, and then it says, okay, this is the way it's going to be, and then
it's like asking for approval. And that is a nice thing, because that I think alleviates a lot of fear that people have, especially like with the Wild West. We talked about OpenClaw and like how things can go awry pretty quickly.
Yeah,
and so this is a nice way to mitigate that fear, but we're also starting to see like Claude is more than a chatbot. This is agental AI. You are saying, here's a job that requires you to make multiple moves across multiple places in multiple contexts to generate this report on Lemonade.
Yeah, and it'll get it all and aggregate it for you.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And it's cool because they also say to use CoWork, this is how it kind of positions it. It says, CloudWork can work with local files and tools available on all paid plans for Windows and Mac OS. This is a research preview and agent safety is still in development. Stay safe.
That's all. You don't see that all the time.
No. And then
from big tech.
Right. And then again, I love the fact that they give you that control, that they're not just going to do anything, that you need to approve everything before, unless you always, I guess you could say always allow, but it would just be for that specific action.
And Claude Code does the same thing, where it's like for this session, for this task, and I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you've never led me astray, Claude. You've always preached it. Can you go back to the platforms that it runs on? You said it was like Mac OS, Windows.
OS, and Windows. Yeah.
So I have a Chromebook. I can't use Claude Code.
But could you do it as a Chrome extension?
I can. There is a Chrome extension called Claude, and it does all that stuff to a lesser degree because it doesn't have access to a file structure or anything like that.
But safety for you, right? That's why you like the Chromebook, because they can't mess with your OS.
They can't. It's an immutable OS, and I just love the interface and I love the convenience of it. But it can do scheduled tasks, planning mode, record a workflow, multi-tab workflows, and it has logs for it. So and you can control browser actions from. So it does as best it can with the parameters of a Chromebook. And for me, who's very privacy and safety first, this is a good I enjoy that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I love Claude. I would trust Claude to have access to my computer. I'm not suggesting anyone else have that opinion. I'm saying
yeah. Well, Mac just came out with the Neo.
The Mac Neo for $599,
and that could replace it, and you could have Claude, and it's a pretty safe OS.
Ooh, no. $600 is a very approachable price for a laptop.
Yeah, and you could get education discount.
Yeah, was that $50?
I don't know. It's sub 500.
I do think that the actual MacBook Air, I think that's the best computer on the market. If I had to buy one and I had $1,100, that's what I'd spend.
The Air.
I would never buy a PC over that, a Windows machine.
Yeah. Well, and just the way it runs, and another side.
We'll do another episode.
But the other cool thing about CoWork is you can schedule tasks. So if there is a report you're talking about on your lemonade stand that has to be run every Friday, then you could schedule that task to happen every Friday and get your report, and even email it to you. So you could just get it in your email, and you don't have to do it. And so as long as it knows where where all the files live and access to those files, you can create that automated task to do that for you. And you also mentioned that now it has access to Excel and PowerPoint too. Oh my gosh,
better integration than Copilot. Microsoft's own AI is not nearly as good as Claude's.
So can you explain, what does that mean? Does that mean I go into Excel, or does it through the prompt trigger something and it can go into Excel and work through it?
So Microsoft is bringing Anthropic's Claude CoWork to its Microsoft 365 Copilot AI platform. Mm-hmm. And so it can live in Excel. Now, I don't use Excel and I don't use Word, so I haven't really played with it. Oh, yeah. and we'll talk about how Gemini is integrated in the next episode. But the people have been using Anthropic. And if you go to Claude, you can, it has Excel integrations in it.
Right. And it can create Excel files through Claude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it can broker information between Word and Claude.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that this is really great for lots of different things, and definitely something to explore. It is only a pay tier that you can use CoWork. So that's one unfortunate thing, but
it is. And hopefully by the end of this series, people will have $20 a month that they want to part with, because it's very easy to say hey, if this saves me $21 a month in my labor, my time, it levels up what I do, totally worth it.
100%. And so that's something that you can evaluate, and maybe you take a stab at 1 month, just doing 1 month of Claude, 1 month of ChatGPT, 1 month of Gemini, and you see which tool you think helps you the most in your specific situation. Because like I said, I think I will always I will either need to move just to Google if I had to pick one, or I'd have to do a Claude Google combo, because
that's what I do.
Claude Google. Yeah. Because the
both.
Image generation and the video generation really is heavy with OpenAI and Google.
Oh, and that's a spoiler for next week.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Teasing. We're teasing. We're teasing for next week.
Building a buzz.
That's right. And again, one thing you're going to realize is that a lot of these tools, they have similarities in all of these. So it's really going to be at some point seeing what you're most comfortable with using, and then using it and realizing that, unless it's something specialized, it's really for the general tasks. OpenAI has all these similar things on their ecosystem. Claude has a similar, obviously, projects, artifacts, GPTs, and Gemini has similar.
It all kind of looks the same too, like when you go from service to service.
Exactly. So I think those little distinctions are going to be like, for me, I need video. So if I need to do video and image production, I can't just use Claude.
Sure. In fact, Claude doesn't even do images or video.
So those are those little things that you're going to evaluate once but I agree with you. If you have $20 to part, I would definitely take a trial run on all three of these tools and see which one helps you the most.
Yep.
So, anything else you want to add about these tools, or?
I just love Claude. It's awesome.
Yeah. And again, I feel the safest with my content around, the whole privacy. That was one thing I wanted to mention, is that with Claude, you have the ability to go in incognito mode. And when you're in incognito mode, it's a little icon on the top right. And it does it's subtle things, like it turns it black. Like now I know I'm in incognito mode, and it looks like the little ghost.
Yeah, it's like a Pac-Man ghost. That's the button you press. That's cute.
And so like now you know that you're safe. And I still would never, what they're saying is incognito chats aren't saved to history or used to train models. But I would definitely still not upload anything sensitive to these platforms, because there is a learn more. And I assume for regulation purposes, they still retain data for a few days, even after you're done with the chat. And then it'll eventually get deleted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Claude is known for being the best for protecting your data of all the AI services out there, and so I trust them. I mean, I'm still not uploading like personally identifiable information, but I feel pretty comfortable with Claude. Yeah,
and then I'll just end with you can see where this is all going, and where we started with the chat. Now we have these ecosystems, and you kind of mentioned this before, but it's going to be where things are. It's going to be integrated into your everyday thing. Yeah. So, like, when I look at Atlas, the chat is just integrated into it. So if I want to engage, I don't have to leave it. And you mentioned at some point there'll be an operating system that is just,
I think so,
all AI based.
Yeah, like, and you can do that now. Like in Gemini, you can say like start playlist from YouTube Music, and it will do that for you. I think OpenAI has the same thing with like Spotify and Canva and all these other integrations.
Yes, and when we get into Google next, it's integrated into, like, I can just click Ask Gemini, and it's just on my browser and everything, all my tools that I use. So I totally see this evolution happening, and you can see it. You can see all right, now we have artifacts, projects, now we have co-work.
We have integration with other tools.
Integration with tools, and then now they can start building. So now it's going to be a framework that's going to be an operating system. So I think that's all the time we have today. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the talk about Claude ecosystem. I'm Paul Engin.
And I am Dave Ghidiu. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let's be careful out there, folks.
And share it with a friend or colleague. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and thanks for looking through the Immersive Lens with us.
This episode was engineered by Jeff Kidd.
Recorded at Finger Lakes Community College Podcast Studios, located in beautiful Canandaigua, New York, in the heart of the Finger Lakes region, offering more than 55 degrees, certificates, micro-credentials, and workforce training programs.
Thank you to Public Relations and Communications Marketing and the FLX AI Hub.
Eager to delve into passion? Discover exciting and immersive opportunities at www.flcc.edu.
I was coaching Paul for the W's. As part of our mission at FLCC, we are committed to making education accessible, innovative, awesome, and aligned with the needs of both students and employers.
The views expressed in this podcast are those of the host, guests, and do not necessarily reflect the official position of Finger Lakes Community College.
Music by Den from Pixabay.
This is the Immersive Lens.
Is he okay?